You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
When you finally boil it all down, magic is imagination. We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of life. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Heist and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine Ayahuscua. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. Shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die. I find it getting harder to write these daily write-ups because the amount of information coming through is enough for many lifetimes. I will do my best with today's experience. This morning I woke up slow. Have I even been resting? I took my time and had 2 cups of coffee, and I'm still groggy. I weighed out 0.4 grams. It's Sunday. It's raining. Let's do this. In less than an hour, I really began to feel different. I began to get a huge download. It's the main chessboard. The chessboard represents us here on Earth's now. There were 13 statues of the ancient Egyptians that took place around the board. They were huge. The chessboard came up to the halfway point on each statue, basically midsection height. Then above and below the chessboard formed more chessboards. They went from the feet of the statues up to the heads, and it started to remind me of a video game. Each one of these statues also represented a sign of the zodiac. I am running the Horus program within the program of nature. I could see the Horus statue spewing many beings out of his mouth. They poured onto the main chessboard. We were the fallen ones, all the way falling through the chessboards. Many souls fell to the bottom of the board. They were sprinkled everywhere. All of those beings running the Horus program. Each of those souls entered the machine, entered through the zodiac sign that suited their individual needs, and get spilled out here. Through the represented statue of the zodiac sign. You get imprinted as you pass through the statue's mouth onto the board. I always thought Horus was spitting his consciousness into pieces and his team was taking the field. But no, we pick and choose the team we want beforehand. We pick exactly what we need to get, whatever job we need done. Once the choice is made and you choose your experience, you get shot out onto the board. You must get born in so that you may get a suit or a body to wear so that you can occupy a place to work in this space, the grand chessboard. The choices and paths are unique and endless paths of possibilities, unlimited choices within the free will. This was full on the job training. As that thought entered my mind, every other statue began spewing from their mouth. There were beings everywhere on all of the boards, and so many beings just filling the area and the space around the boards, floating, flying, watching, and interfering. It was a madhouse. Now, this is fine and all good, like actors taking their positions on a multidimensional stage of life. This chaos was all right. It was the game. Beings in the game began to see the chessboard and began to make their own. There were players everywhere. It looked like basketball pickup games on Saturday afternoon here in the Bronx. So crazy, but so awesome. So much excitement, and everyone seemed to have an investment with outcomes. I was not ready for this, but I've been here a few times, and it was nothing like this experience. I was very confused and overwhelmed when I was here. Being shot out onto the board means you don't get to remember who you are. All of the time takes place in the sphere of possibilities. As we level up in games and rise against all opponents, you can pick and choose at any time, any place, and relive any scenario from any perspectives and have different outcomes every time. It's infinite possibilities. But I started noticing these neon lights. They were pulsating in a weird way, and they were everywhere, woven into the fabric of this place. Excuse me, everyone. I don't know how to say this, but this place has an infection. My guide looked over at me and burst into laughter. No shit, he replied. It was interesting how the creators on the chessboard would level up into new positions on the board or jump to the next board. They would spiral up when they did it correctly. Shoutouts to Ra. So I went back through the Horus statue's mouth, and I was scanned on my way out into the next room. I was an ugly, fat little man in this wonderful energy. I've seen this guy before, but I was very small, and he was gigantic. But this guy was very different. I like him, or his energy. I show him my neck and open my mouth for him as he looks through me for anything foreign. Your body is clear, but look at your ear. This is where they tagged you. Yes, I was abducted a few years back, and they stuck something up in the upward angle, not in my ear, but on the angle in the meaty part. Can I get this out of me, I asked. Yes, you will transmute your body into crystalline light. During that time of transformation, you will expel it from your body by pushing it out. Wow, awesome. Yeah, this thing keeps going off. Well, that's because they're looking for you. He shrunk away into the wall laughing. They can't do what I can do, I thought as I smiled to myself. I turned and saw that I was standing in a white room. It was very peaceful. I was alone. I really enjoyed this room. I was completely relaxed. I felt like now should be a time for a shower, a real shower. I felt myself still in this room as I get into the shower. From here, I could get the cobwebs out of every part of me. And my expression was beautiful. I am a light being. I am a creator. And from here, I am now a programmer. I felt a rush of joy come over me. I could program this machine from the inside out. I laughed. No wonder why they don't want us to know who and what we are. From here, I could access anywhere and anything. I could feel how I could begin programming, and this is amazing. As I turned to my left, a portal was opening across the room. As I put my focus on it, it began to react to me. Tentacles of energy grabbed me and began to pull me towards the portal. And I thought, no, I don't want this. And it made a whoosh sound. And I was gone into a dirty sub-basement. I could see this fat, disgusting thing. It was wiggling and shaking. It looked like a pillar of gross, fatty deposits within this giant being. It was going to pop. I noticed a lot of black goo was circulating within this sack of gross. If this thing pops, a lot of people in the area and in the room are going to be in trouble. Someone said to me, "You must drain that sack." And I screamed, "Get the F out of here."
You do it.
You do it. All right. This is a sludge factory. So why do I have to do it? Because it's one of your family members, the being said, and quickly ducked behind his protection. Fine, I'll do it. A hose came from the wall. All I had to do was connect it to the belly button of this mess. I created a duplicate of myself and sent him in. With one shaky finger, my duplicate connected to the hose just as the sack was about to pop. Black goo completely took my double and engulfed him in a sea of blackness. Some jumped on me and I freaked out. It's like slime that's alive. Get it out? Beings began to spray me with a clearing liquid energy. As the black goo fell away from me, I stumbled backwards through the portal from which I came from, the white room. I really like this place. It's so calm and I could get stuff done. I noticed the portals and the tentacles again, and as they reached from my face, I screamed, "No more of this," and pulled my head free. All right, let's stop there. Let's say hello. What's up? It's your man, Frank Castle, your Sorcerer Supreme, right here, Saturday nights on Truth Frequency Radio. And this is Fearless, and I'm here with my etherical translator, Paula Milo.
Hey, everyone.
Special shout-outs to Chris and Cherie. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here doing this like this. I hope you guys enjoying the format. Just to get through it much quicker, since we only have the hour format, I decided to read through parts of my personal notes from the incidents or from the experiences that I feel are very relevant to what's happening.
These are your microdosing experiences.
These are the microdosing experiences. So we are on, day 6, and it's been intense. But before I continue, I know people wanted to hear about the White Room. That was one of the big things. They've seen this room before. Mm-hmm. They've seen, all right, and you and I were talking, Paula, and shout outs to everybody in the chat room. Doing this backwards is a little weird for me, but I found.
No, you want to keep in time.
No, I found a picture. I'm going to try to swing it over to the chat room.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this
today.
It's not
letting me do it yet. All right. I got to do it maybe during the break or something. But I actually found a picture of Sobek, who is the crocodile-looking being, right? Mm-hmm. That from ancient Egypt. Yeah. And I showed you this. I said, during my LSD trip, I faced off with this lizard character. It looked just like him, the crocodile-faced guy. And then it was the crocodile guy and then man. And then from there, it was like another chessboard split. And it was like you go head-to-head with these beings, but you're playing on multiple boards. So I'm like, man, I've never seen nothing like this. And by accident, somebody was posting about Kabbalah and all this stuff and was saying, this is Satan, this is this is that. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You might have part of the dark ritual that's freaking you out, and you might think then everything's evil, but that's not the case at all. So I'm going to try and post it in a minute, but it's a picture of two Sobeks, statues, one on either side, and then the spiraling up from the bottom. It doesn't have the chessboards, but you can get the reference points to exactly what I was talking about. And I go, oh my God, out of all this kid's freak out about all whatever he's posting about, because a lot of his symbols were wrong. Some of his symbols had the Eye of Providence, which is really the eye inside the capstone. Mm-hmm. They had the Horus eye in there, or the Ra, whichever, and that is wrong. That is 100% wrong. So whenever you have that, you have a wrong statement. You don't know your signs and symbols. You're just slapping stuff together going, you know what? It's all evil. So all your little drawings that you're putting together are wrong based on you not knowing your signs and symbols.
Right.
So educate yourself, because there is no eye of providence. It's the eye of the artificial intelligence or the demiurge. Get over it. It is what it is. Right. So this picture perfectly describes it. And it freaked me out a little bit, because I'm like, well, this is it right here. And there's people jumping in as all different characters. Right. Based on and we're not talking about being trapped in the illusion. We're talking about why we come here to begin with, right? So to even get here, there's this whole process where you see source as a ball, and you're higher than, in a higher density, and you say, okay, I'm going to choose to go in. For me, it was like, you're Leo. So I jumped into source. Source, this giant ball, was the center of a clock. The clock turned, and when it hit the Leo, yes. It was like the clock face, and each character from the Zodiac was one of the clicks. Right. So I jumped in to source just as it was making the click to Leo, and it shot me through on the proper date. And it's actually all astrological stuff. It's not even like a date and a time. It's like the way things are lined up. Mm-hmm. Then you're shot through, guaranteeing that you're going to have the character that you decided on the other side in the spirit realm. Like, hey, I'm going to go in there and do this with this guy. And then you come in here and you get wiped with amnesia, and you're like, oh man, that's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, which it looks so easy from the other side. But on the other side, there's no fear at that level. So you're like, oh, this is fine.
No, there isn't. There is only love. That's the only emotion. There is no negative emotion. So even when you're making these decisions to sometimes live these terrible lives, it's still coming from a place of love. Like, you have to get through it because it's necessary.
Right. And I hate to say it like this, but we don't really have the full concept of what's happening. People are here to to get rid of karma and to do certain things and experience certain things.
We only have a piece of this because honestly, you're not going to know until after you die. How could anyone really validate this? This is your recollection of what you've seen and how you think it fits into your reality right now.
Exactly.
because it really can't be proven. These are theories, basically. We have theories about what we think go on.
I can say from experience that, well, see, I'm trying to not have a belief system. A belief system has to be like water because it could always change, right? So I can't drive that, but I have to have the faith that it exists.
Yes.
So there are some things we can say, like I've seen people posting a picture online of this. It looks like a toy kid, almost like a Pinocchio or something, really done with beautiful colors, and he's got his hands held up like what would this be, like hello, two hands, and then the eyeballs are in his hands,
Right.
and then he has the third eye on his head, and it's very DMT colored and trippy, and I'm like, yo, I've been in front of that character,
Right.
and people are screaming. I'd been there. I know that from DMT. And I'm like, okay, so in that respect, we can start saying now that people are experiencing.
Absolutely. They're the same. Your mother.
Well, we're going to get to that. Absolutely. All right. So we had a few.
People do see the same
Yes.
beings in their experiences. They just describe them differently. And sometimes it takes some artwork or music or whatever it is for you to realize that you did see pretty much the same thing. Like those depictions on the internet of what people see in their experiences, those are as close to the reality as they can get.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're pulling it right out of the ether.
Absolutely.
And doing, like, I've seen one of my earlier experiences, I saw Alex Gray, but it was where he goes to get, and I wasn't into him. Like, this was prior to me knowing really about him. But I had seen a few of his paintings. They were pretty accurate of certain places you go into DMT. And then I was standing in the room. We passed it. And I said, oh, look, there's a room with Alex Gray paintings. And then I saw the one that I always had seen. It was like the basic DMT, the Kings. And it's like this weird room that you go into. And I went in there and I saw that. And I go, oh, look. And then I looked around and I said, oh, from here, from this specific spot in the frequency, everything looks just like that.
Yeah.
And he's pulling it right out. He was painting it in that room while watching it there and then going back and painting it again. It was wild to watch the process, but he wasn't in the room at the time, but I could see what was happening in there. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, you guys have your own personal locations within the everything.
The realms. Yeah.
And you just access them.
Yeah.
It's like having your own personal room.
Right.
It's where you go and do your stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty amazing. Mind-blowing. Right? Now, watching all these beings come out, one, they're not all your enemy. Even the ones that are acting the enemy, this drives me crazy, right? So we agree to play this Cowboys and Indians game out, which is deadly. But the experience, if this was a Dungeons and Dragons game and you had to roll dice to gain experience on a 100-sided dice, to go to consciousness battle into this during the time of the event is like the greatest, right? So you're rolling hundreds on either side. They're trying to take you out. You're trying to take them out by bringing light and holding the light, and they're doing everything they can to dumb you down, get rid of you, kill you, keep you sick. They're doing everything in their power, and you're like, damn, this is coming from every direction. And as people go under ayahuasca or DMT, they see the multiple beings. They're like, dude, this is impossible to beat this. And I say, no, it's not impossible to beat this. They have to do that because of the people, the beings that we are.
Right. And not everything has to be beaten either. It depends on what you have to go through.
The thing that you have to beat is yourself.
Exactly.
Your own mind.
Exactly. And that's basically, that's the worst part of everything. Getting through your head, through your own head.
They trick us through us.
Yes. It's like
because,
a mirror. Yeah.
Exactly. They're playing a game with us that they make us believe because of the amnesia what they want, their agendas and whatever that is. And then the fear factor that not only can we shoot people and lock them in jail and blow them up and do all different kinds of torture things to them, but there's also lizards and aliens and monsters and sharks and this and that. And you're just like in a fear bubble constantly. Right? Well, that's just somebody telling you that that's there. Right? Boogeyman's under the bed. There's no such thing. Right? If you decide that there's not. I'm done with this. Boom. You come out of it. All right? There's other things that are out there. It's a dualistic universe.
Oh,
there are monsters. They exist.
Everything that you can think of is out there.
But all right, when I face something and I think to them, oh, they sent you now. right? And they go, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, you must be special then. And they do their special thing. And I say, you realize I'm a creator, right? And they all go, yeah, and kind of hate you for that. And I go, well, that means you're me and I'm connected to you, right? And then they start playing that game where, I'm nothing like you. And I'm like, we're connected. This is how you throw love at something, right? You bring out the birthday cake. We're connected. It's your birthday. I'm going to sing the birthday song. And they start going, no. And you're like, what is that? What is so bad about but what's really happening is nothing they can do to you is working, and they have nothing. They have nothing. Less than running in the room and kicking the crap out of you in your living room right in front of everyone. They got nothing.
And that's not going to happen. That's not allowed.
They're not allowed to do it. Some of them get away with some stuff, but then we get away with stuff on the other side. The push goes.
You push all the buttons.
Yeah, well, you got to have a push back on both sides or it doesn't work, right?
You touch everything.
Yeah, touch it. Let's see what happens. Hey, what's that? All right, so a couple of things happened that were pretty interesting.
Pretty interesting. Yeah, I'd say.
I don't know. Okay, wait. Before I get, they want to hear about the White Room. I've been asked to talk about that. From the White Room, there was no confusion, guys. The room was like an empty white area where you can just go and concentrate. There's literally no sound that can affect you, right? Nothing. There's no vibrations. There's nothing. It's just you and emptiness. And it feels awesome because you're not being affected by everything. We're all allowed to go there. It's outside of the construct I spoke about of the statues. It's like before you get into there, but it's after you shoot yourself in through the zodiac. So you're becoming that personality. But from there, you can watch yourself in the sphere of time where the chessboards are, and you could maneuver your way through as a programmer. You could move things into position, out of position. You could move yourself in and out and then go back in because you're multidimensional and then live through it.
Right.
Removing the obstacles as a programmer. What would you do if you were in a program of nature and they're like, dude, you could program this? What does that mean?
I would be there all the time.
Well, you can't.
I really would. I would.
You can't get. You remove obstacles from your higher position, so you have a better life.
Yeah.
You better experience.
We were just talking about this. The obstacles. We had a lot of really great experiences since last week. And we were talking about obstacles, and that's one of the things that ayahuasca takes care of. You know, when we navigate through our lives, we look at what's in front of us, and there are obstacles that have already been laid out for us. So what do? We walk around them, we go under them, we go over them, we try to avoid them at all costs. Sometimes we go through them, sometimes they
go through us.
Yeah, sometimes they go through us. After you have an ayahuasca experience, you realize that those obstacles are removed from your path. So you're not navigating around them. They're gone. They're truly gone. You know, you're going to talk about what happened this week, but you know, they really are. And you know, we're actually, it's like we almost did a test. So we're actually getting to see what's happening through your mom's Aya experience, basically. And it's everything that we talk about. And she is wonderful because she's been updating us
as we go,
every day, you know, since she drank. So
since her experience.
Why don't you explain that?
All right. So one thing I'm going to say is my mom is fearless.
Oh, absolutely.
I know where I get it from. I know that now that I've tested it in a different way, I realize we had an experience. We had two awesome guys here, came and stayed a few days with us, and young men. I thought, these guys are hyper fearless. By the way, these guys go deep, but had layers removed and had expansion. Okay, so that was perhaps I'll bring them on and they can talk about it. But that's energy work. That's being wrapped in the layers. You're removing the mummy wraps, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing.
Yeah, it was a very introverted.
So it proves young men that have the drive and the fearless bump doesn't mean they'll have less. You can have a baby that has more karma than everybody in the room, and the baby just got here.
Right.
Okay, and I mean lifetimes worth. So expansion is great. Then in the same week, my mother sat down and had less than half of what everyone had that time. And in moments, it started
Oh yeah.
with the
Yeah.
experience. Moments where it brought her in, it killed her. She died.
It looked
My
like
mother
she phys-
died in this room.
It
I
looked
thought
like
she was
physically
dead.
died on the couch.
I hate to talk like this because it's freaky. Her mouth was open, her tongue was out, her eyes rolled back. She collapsed. The bucket went flying. I jumped from one room to the other in 0.0 seconds, grabbing her face, and nothing in me was nervous or worried to where it affected my judgment on exactly what Mother Ayahuasca was going to do for her. And I touched her face and said, Mom, boom, she was back. I'm fine. Did you see the size of that casket? Boom, dead again.
Yeah.
Comes right back. I'm fine.
Came right back.
Did you, I was, and then this, and then I was like, just lay down. And she's like, okay. And then goes on to explain that women come out. They just come out. And then Aya comes out with them.
And, it's funny because, I have to back it up a second. The two guys that came for ceremony, I have to tell you, brave guys. I mean, what they went through, it was a very introspective experience for them, I guess. But what they went through, truly brave. Oh, we're going to lose it.
We're never going to lose it. We're always going to be able to bring it back. Why? We are it. It is us. We are no less than the great giant. Fear of all. Let's rock and roll. It's Saturday night. It's the best night radio. Frequency Radio. Deception from deception.
We love you, chat room folks.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Am I awake or is this a dream? It's a dream. It's a dream. A fantasy of where I'd rather be. So come and talk with me. Come and walk with me. Is this a wake-up call from my reality? Have you seen my friends? Have you seen my girl? Wake me up from this. I'm trapped in this world.
Yo, what's up? That's very rap. You're back. Down to my brother Bob.
So they were brave. I mean, the guys who came for ceremony, brave guys. I just have to say it, brave. Your mother, oh my goodness.
So she drinks.
Badass.
She drinks ayahuasca like she's doing shots at the bar with sailors.
My goodness. By the time I got the orange slices, she already drank everything. I was like, oh my goodness. She was tough. And she experienced death. Twice. It happened twice.
She
to
died
her.
hardcore in front of me, and I'm like, I go, if my brother.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
There is no excuse that I'm going to have for my brother if he even hears the word death and mother
In the same sentence.
I can't begin to tell you how scared I was slightly, but okay. Aya has done this to me so many times, right? Get up, sit down. All right, we watched Saving Sarah Silverman, right? Sarah Marshall, I mean. All right, so forgetting Sarah Marshall, sorry. So the guy on the beach is teaching the guy on how to surf, and he's like, do more, do less. Do more, do less.
But that's really it. You really do have to do less. And she experienced death. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to her because...
And it's like an up, down, up, down. She's like, yo, I was there. And then the first thing I say is, oh, my, I hope a family member of mine isn't dead or is going to die.
Right.
And she doesn't even think of herself.
No, not at all.
And then she explains to me the whole thing. And she goes, no, the coffin was long. And then as I thought, oh, I hope my family member didn't die, I died and woke up in your arms. Mm-hmm. And I go, don't you see the metaphor? You died and became reborn. She goes, well, yeah, I looked at you and I was like, oh, everything's fine. And then boom, down again.
Yeah.
And then she got up and was like, whoa. And I go, can you see colors? She goes, what? She thought I was the stupidest person for asking that question.
She described Aya the best anyone has described Aya so far, because she saw Aya the way I saw Aya. And it was beautiful. And just from what she could tell us about her experience, I mean, we already see how things are changing for her. And that's why I meant, that's why I said before the break that she's like our test, because we're actually getting to experience, we're on her journey with her. We're getting to experience how this next 28 days is unfolding for her.
Absolutely.
And it's been going really good. It's only been a few days.
She's connecting more dots than anyone I've ever seen, faster than all of us.
And she couldn't
There's the picture, people in the chat room.
She couldn't even explain her entire experience. She only gave us little fragmented pieces of
She
her
said there were 3 women. They looked kind of Koreanish or Asianish, and they were working on the pain parts of my body. She has a torn shoulder. Something's wrong with her shoulder. There's something wrong with her liver. She goes, I party too much or whatever. She got the clean out.
Yeah, she did.
The hyper purge. So she's like, I'm yawning. And I'm like, why am I yawning? Why am I tired? She's like, but I'm on the other side. Mm-hmm. And my mouth, it's like my jaw's dislocating and opening, and these giant yawns, and the stuff is coming out. And I go, what stuff? It was just a yawn, but something was out.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm like, that's lifetime of purges. You out here, you were throwing up.
Lifetime of emotions you cannot take with you, because in the higher densities, because there's no room for it. You had to purge some issues you were holding on to as well. Remember, they told you can't take them with you.
You literally can't.
Have to let it go.
You're not allowed. It's like, look, you're going to hit the wall. You're going to hit the wall. And then you hit the wall and you go, oh, I'm stuck. It's like water's pushing you against a wall. And then you're like, what do I do? And you're like, just let go.
Let it go. Mm-hmm.
And you just say, okay, well, I release it. And then boom, you go right through. And you're, it's like that. It's like, yeah, you can't take that with you. All right, you're allowed to have attachments, things, but things aren't allowed to have you. Maybe that's the word. So
that's a good way to put
you're
it,
allowed to have your toys and your games and your 1,000,000 pairs of shoes and stuff. But if they burn down in the fire, they're just shoes. As long as everybody else made it out safe, we're alive. We'll just get new shoes. That's it. The attachments can't have you.
Right.
But you can have what you want. As long as it doesn't hold you in that river of energy and that flow, like you're anchored into cement. Actually, it's weird to watch that and to watch my mother release. All right,
it is, and to be able to. Well, she was here today. We talked to her all day about this stuff. I don't think we've ever.
She's
done
like Neo, and she's like, "Do you want more?" And she's like, "Hell yeah." Right when he's uploading the material to him.
Online. I mean, it was
so
just
she
amazing.
explains what Aya looks like. She explains the headdresses she's wearing. Like, this is where it gets cool. This is why I'm like,
the colors.
It's in the blood. No, it gets more. She's like, Aya takes me by the arm, and she's literally holding me. I don't have to do anything, and we fly to Alaska. And she's showing me the mountains in Alaska. And my mother had been to Alaska before or whatever. She doesn't know the connection. Yeah. She loves it. And she started showing her these mountain ranges and then multiple other places. And she was having a hard time remembering all of them. She goes, we were hanging out. And she's like, I like family. Like tonight she said, now that I know her like this, I feel like she's one of us.
And
like,
I have to protect
I would give
her.
my life for my child, for my friends, my this. Why would I not for her? Right. And I'm like, oh, here it comes, the warrior. It's in service to others. She's like, I've had a life. I have children. I have this. Why wouldn't I put my life for her? I'm like, no, you don't have to do it. She goes, no. Defending it, not giving my life sacrifice. Don't be stupid, right? Defending it, keeping it clean and beautiful and blissful. Don't you want bliss? Well, you can't have bliss if you're throwing McDonald's out your car window, if you're flicking cigarette butts all day. I'm a victim of doing this myself at times in my life. Don't do it no more. Watch what happens. You just start feeling better.
Oh, speaking of that, our friend Brian, you know who you are. Things are really starting to come together. You know, he made a couple of small changes in his life. You know, he had to, he had to learn to love himself. And these awesome things are happening for him. And I'm so happy.
Yeah, you let go of one thing,
Yeah,
right, that you didn't
yeah.
even kind of know. I was
You
victims
just let
of
go
this stuff.
it. Just put it down.
And I'm like,
forget
well, what
it.
do they think? And what about this? What about this? And I go, you know what? I don't care about
Yeah,
any of that
it shouldn't
stuff.
matter.
I worry about myself. And then I had to go through a period of not understanding that. And then I came out. Like ayahuasca or not, you still got to go through that stuff.
You do, and
right?
and I don't think Brian's ever held ceremony or anything like that. But I mean,
No,
he made
but
a couple of.
wants to.
He does want to, and he needs to find. We
We
to
have
find
people
him somewhere.
in SoCal, by the way. So
Oh, you do.
I'll
Okay,
be
good.
talking to whoever needs. Just send me your information, and I'll talk to the forwarding source.
But
and
I
send you the
mean,
info.
just making a couple of small changes. Really, making a couple of small changes, and your life changes. Your life changes. I can't believe that I get to talk on the radio about this stuff with someone that I really have a great time with.
Well, that's what it's all about,
I
right?
mean, it's
We're-
amazing. We have amazing friends that we've made along the way. Like I call them friends, and they're family also.
No,
I
the
mean,
fearless tribe, the fearless family,
it's
the
amazing.
fearless friends. It's all family.
And, thank you, chat room folks. We love you too, but it's true. It's like I don't think I've said I love you so much.
Well, you know what's funny too? The stories are great, the stories are good, but if the community isn't there, what am I doing?
Oh no, we haven't. Awesome
Like I
community.
took so long before I could tell my story. I'm a year ahead of even one. Like I took a year before even deciding to talk and trying to even catch up with the story because I was so scared of what are people going to think of me? And I thought, well, I've been on stage before with big players doing awesome, best night of my career on stage, and people are still like, dude, you suck. Right? If I let you bother me, I go, there's 1,400 other people here cheering for me. And I'm going to let the one drunk guy in the front who's like, dude, you suck.
But
Go home. Bother me? Really?
But that's a metaphor for life because that's people
There's always a troll.
who are always listening to what other people think and what other people say.
And some people just don't like my stuff. And they're just
Yeah.
like, you suck. And I'm like,
I mean,
okay, good.
What happens
I still
to me?
love you.
There are people that I guess hate the sound of my voice. I'm sorry. This is the way I sound. There are some people that really don't like the sound of my voice. And I think someone posted something negative about me, which you have to understand. I mean, it's everyone's opinion. You're allowed to say anything you want to say. Not everyone is going to like me. And I don't even care.
And it's not
But Frank got so upset and insulted for me. But it's like that you roll the dice. You're talking about stuff that people are afraid to hear.
Yeah.
To be honest, people are afraid of this stuff.
All right. So if I was to say with this statement, we've already done this and they burned us. We already done this. They hung us. We already did this. They crucified us and stabbed
Thank
us
you.
and fed us to lions, threw us off cliffs, drowned us in water, thought we were witches. I mean, locked us in cages.
You almost did.
But I
You
didn't.
almost did. Oh, thank you, chat room folks. Everyone's telling me they love me. That's very sweet. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, not everyone's going to like what we have to say. It's just the way it is.
And it's not meant for those people, guys.
But that's
the
okay.
ones that are here hearing it and the ones out there that are quietly listening that don't say anything because I see the numbers, I see what's going on. And that's great. Your family. You're taking
you are.
something from the message. Even the hater that trolls on me. I got an email the other day, not a Facebook message, and I didn't hit the guy back because I read his wall on his thing, and it said that his mother had passed. So he hit me with, you guys, meaning me and you, are too Catholic, Illuminati, shill. I think the guy might be from Europe because he like smashed us in a little bit of a European way and then told us where to go, kind of Gordon Ramsay style, right?
Okay.
But then I checked this page and I go, dude, his mother died just the other day, and he's lashing out. I go, you know what? I almost wanted to quit Facebook. I keep Facebook to keep with my family, you guys, and my family. Like it's a weird thing now.
It's a weird
right? I'm like, I'm not getting involved. You know what? Don't like me. It's okay.
But it is okay.
I'm
It
sorry
really
your mother
is.
passed. Like literally,
Yeah.
I feel bad, and then I just go. I continue my process. I'm not hurting anyone. Am I helping myself to the best that I can? Am I enjoying myself? Do I enjoy? All right, we built the show.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to build the community. Now we're here.
Yeah.
Doesn't make me famous Frank and famous Paula. It means we love you guys. We came here for a purpose and a drive to wake the family. and the family is hearing the message.
Yeah, that's why I'm so grateful to Chris and Cherie, because they didn't know me. They knew you. They had no idea who I was, where I came from, what
the
it
family
was about.
understands
So
who the family is.
But that's why I'm grateful.
Oh, yeah,
You
me
know?
too.
I mean, we're allowed to say anything we want to say.
You don't know. I was sitting across from Chris, and the whole time I was like, oh, you're my brother. And I loved him. We had the instant man bro connection and all that. But when I drank and when I smoked DMT, and I came back for like 2 seconds where I could grip for a minute, and I looked at him, he looked like my brother, like literally my brother, not my little brother. He was Chris, Gio, my brother. I had the same thing with many.
Yeah, we do. It's.
I want to say most, but there are a few people. We had an NPC in the house. We've had some.
It's strange. I've never experienced
of the other characters as well.
Experienced a community of people like this in my life ever.
You're right.
It's beautiful.
And then people are going. All right, so 144,000 divides into a certain number on whatever the size of the veil. Not the veil, the net that we're creating, like our own broadcasting net. Right. So the 100th monkey, this is what I was figuring out. This is one of the things I grabbed in some gnosis, divides out as if it was the 100th monkey, where we say, well, 100 monkeys, the 101 figures it out.
Right.
Well, with us, it's also not just the 144,000, the Christ army, the light beings, the this or that. It's the actual division to be separated. We're all separated by this weird amount of space that's perfectly grafted with the net that we're building around the planet. And the net is a broadcasting net above the illusion, past the veil, where we're going to just blast through the veil and break it and communicate from a new level on the higher density. So that's what we've been building. I know some of you have at night dream of this. We've discussed things on the other side as well as in person. Some of the discussions happen there first, and then the contact occurs here, which is really interesting. I'm very aware of a lot of that, by the way. Just like we say, the voice is the key, right? It's actually the tones in my voice or the signals that unlock specific characters on the chessboard. That's what it is. Now, you have to activate so your abilities can activate across the levels as well. Because there's something that you have that everyone needs. Believe in yourself. Believe
absolutely. Absolutely. And you'll identify these
Even
people.
the villain gives you a piece of the puzzle.
But you will. You'll find these people. You'll identify these people. I mean, I identified Frank. I mean, I was lucky because my eyes were definitely closed, but I was able to identify who you were. You know, your smell, the sound of your voice. Like weird things.
Yeah, things that throw us off. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't see it just by looking at the person at all.
No, not at all. I mean, honestly, if people, like we were talking about it today, if someone would have came to me a year before I met Frank and said, you know, you're gonna quit your job and you're gonna downsize everything and you're gonna hold ceremony, you know, with people all over the country, and you know you're gonna meet this crazy guy, and he's gonna open your eyes to a whole world of information. I would have been like, no, not me. You have the wrong girl. You completely have the wrong girl.
I didn't even know any of this stuff existed. Like I literally didn't have a piece of it came from comic books, like I said, and random stuff I learned in when history blurted something out of any reference. I always thought Egyptians were just bad guys in the Bible. Like, it was just weird. Like, it just didn't make...
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
So when it happened and I watched it, I went, oh.
You didn't care.
No, I didn't.
Matter
but
to you.
Because, all right, so I feel somehow in me there was a gnosis that they were teaching us lies, which is why I didn't want to learn their BS to begin with. It wasn't really because I didn't want to learn it because I was a bad kid, but something was wrong. That's when you watch it from the background. I watch my nephew, right? He's sitting in the class. He loves his classmates. He loves being there, but he doesn't want to take part in their ceremonies, whatever ceremony they have. So they were all singing a song that he didn't like. And it was kind of like when a child has to learn something, so they give you something to sing to learn it. And I'm like, well, that's not quite correct. I'm like, they're kids. They're little kids. And then he's sitting there looking at me like, nope, not doing it. And I'm going, oh, this kid's looking at me from 100 feet away across an auditorium, looking specifically into my eyes like, no, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, oh my God, he knows. And then I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you take part in it?
Part of the ritual.
He goes, come on, man, that song stinks. And I go, yeah, but it's your classmates, man. It stinks. He was 5 when this went off, and I'm going, oh well, he just came from source. Like I'm taking the things I learned 2 years ago with the ayahuasca, going, well, he just came from source. He's 5 years removed from the other side, where I'm, in my 40s. So I'm like, oh wow. And it's funny. All right, so my mother starts going. So Aya takes me to my grandson, which is my nephew. I don't want to say his name or whatever, but they go to him, and he's 7 now. He's having a little trouble reading, but they're like, it's almost like he's lazy with it, right? And he's a little bit bigger than some of the kids. I find him to be a little bit. He's just starting that awkwardness and everything. So they were saying, oh, when we read, he's still with the little words going like with the. Right, but he sounds ridiculous. Like he's not getting it still.
No,
like
but
he can't say the word.
Get it. He just doesn't want to do it.
So my mother's been tripping on this for like a month, right? She's like, I'm gonna get this kid to read. I'm gonna get it. So Aya grabs her and she goes. She has much more of the experiences. I'm gonna try to weave her into the show one day and get her so she could really tell you.
That would be great.
It would be amazing because she's like me, right? So she's like, we show up and she takes me to Grayson. Oh, I did it, didn't I? I'm sorry. Okay. So we show up there, and then she's like telling him, you have to learn how to read. So she's watching Aya explain to him, look, it's time. You're going to need to do this. So then she walks over, and then it was like having the mother and then the mother.
Yeah.
Well, the grandmother, the great-grandmother.
The mother of the world, the planet, yes.
Yes. So she goes, for some reason, I think he's going to know what to do now.
I
go,
agree.
well, you were there. And she goes, no, Frank, we were in the room with him.
Yes.
And she goes, just like I'm standing here with you, but Aya was there with her colors.
Everything will be okay. It will be okay. And we know this because we went through it. She has to understand this.
Well, she's putting together things faster than I've ever seen
anyone.
Like
her first experience. Her first experience was not like this.
She
at
had
all.
2 hours, and literally into the room came the dead cousins, all the first cousins that had passed as children. And
yeah, because she drank 3 years ago. Because we're
back in the beginning.
We're going to be together 3 years.
3 years on Easter.
Easter, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome, by the way.
I know. Doesn't it feel longer though?
Yeah, like kind of like infinite years.
6,000, 7,000.
The reason why we have those feelings with our partners, or that longing with certain people and our friends, and it's so weird we don't have it with certain family members, is because those are the family members. That's the soul family.
I know. Believe me, she's my soul family. I love her. You know that. I mean,
we talked about this, how Paula was the empty seat at the dining room table next to me, right? So no one knew who that was. And anyone that sat there, every single person, right? There's a lot of people too, and they're all crazy. So they, one person or a group of people would always have a problem with whoever was sitting in the chair. Literally, there's always, well, mom doesn't like this person or grandpa don't like that person, but they're just being nice to be nice and whatever. You came in, sat down, everyone smiled and got happy, but it goes more. There's synchronicities. Paula does things my grandmother does, which is so weird, and they have a similar injury. Mm-hmm. You just do.
We do.
Okay, so I'm not even going to talk about it, but all right, so I'll show you an example. They sneeze exactly alike. Who sneezes like anyone else, really?
Oh, I know.
No, exactly alike. So I laugh, and they do the exact same thing when the sneeze is done. So I'm looking, and I go, Ma, you don't know. She's like Grandma. So she goes, no, she's not. She goes, she's just the same height or something. So then she's in the other room, and then the sneeze bomb goes off. And my mother just looks at her, looks at me, and she's staring into my eyes. And then she goes, Viola, right? And we were laughing. And I go, exactly like Grandma. And then you turned, and I said, and she has the other. And then there's this, and then the interests of, and I go, I can't. But what's happening is the unraveling of who we are. We all know each other.
We do, though.
This is the thing. we know each other. Like, you may be all the way over there, and we're all the way over here, but I know you.
Yeah.
You know us.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. There's definitely a, even, Nick, I love you. Your girl is coming. You got to be open. But I think the whole community, I think we're all connected, because it wouldn't work if there was, it wouldn't work if there was no reason for it.
No, if there wasn't the community.
Yeah,
all right, look, this
works.
isn't like something any one of us can do without anyone else.
Yeah.
Period. There'll be a few people that do that because the infinite possibilities have to be there,
Right.
but that's not what that already tried to happen, where like one person saves the day or a small crew.
Right.
You get wiped right out.
We all
Doesn't work.
bring a piece of the puzzle. And
Yeah,
that's-
we're like the X-Men now. Everyone's got a
Yeah,
power,
yeah,
and if we work together,
Right.
we
We
can
can get
create.
something done.
Yeah, we can get something done. Exactly. So as we unlock and go through this process, it becomes very interesting. My favorite part about this is now that my mother went through this the right way, because the first time there were just dead relatives in the room with us. I know that sounds so weird. They're just standing in the room as children. So there was an ayahuasca experience for her. So she didn't know about the colors. That she goes, I remember the greens. I remember them. But when I talked to her back then, that's all she had to say was that and dead relatives. And it was nice. But this was like the traditional ayahuasca
ceremony
but
experience.
My
Yes.
mother is like, oh, what do you mean not everybody just meets her like that?
No.
She's like, I buddied with her for 4 hours. We were everywhere together.
Yeah, from one mother to another.
And
That's
I'm like,
what it
Ma,
was.
people don't do that. Like,
No.
I go, you saw her and hugged her and shook her hand and hung out. She goes, yeah, we talked. Like, we're talking right now for hours.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. It's in the bloodline. I see it. Certain ones just are unlocking immediately and having the visuals. They're not just the colors, the beings, the other characters that are talking to them that step up in front of you. People come here from all over to want that, and it doesn't occur sometimes. And I'm like, oh man, why is that happening? Well, it's layers and rap and this and that. I go, yeah, but I broke through and this and that. They're like, well, you've done this already. You already did this stuff.
But you have, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll always say it. You have very unique experiences under Aya. I'm sorry, you do. People do not have the experiences that you have.
It is true that the shaman have a relationship with the other consciousness.
It's a very unique experience. I mean, I don't know one other person that drank Aya that has had an experience that comes close to the ones that you've had.
There's only a handful of us that seem to
but
actually.
That doesn't make it wrong.
No,
it's just you're a unique individual.
But
and
what
I think
I'm
other
loving.
people have to understand that their experiences are not going to compare to yours. It's just different.
It just is what it is for each individual person. But it seems that my mother is just like me.
Oh, she was badass.
She was looking at pictures online going, yeah, it was that color green. Oh, look, the hats were like that. No, then she was going, they weren't Asian. They were Indian.
No.
Then they were
two sets of
Hindu.
Hindu women working on her.
When I told that to Google, Google popped it right up.
She didn't complain about her shoulder pain today when she came. She always complains of her shoulder pain.
That's because ayahuasca was fixing her arm. The women were helping with the arm. Hey, listen, we're going to get into this again next week. We got so much more to get into. Thank you so much. Don't forget to go to IamWeAreFearless.com and check something out. Support the crew. We love you. For your protection from your deception.
Get a subscription if you can. Get a subscription.
Come on, we're all supporting each other in these communities. Let's rock and roll.